All right, here we are, Impact and Influence Radio right here on Opera, and today's broadcast is brought to you by Blinds of Sacramento, Sacramento's complete solution window covering experts. Give them a call, 916-790-8689 or blindsofsacramento.com. Now today, we've got a gentleman in here. We've crossed paths, my gosh, at least a dozen times over the last maybe 6 or 8 months, and it's good to finally get to know you a little bit, get you in here. I had to twist your arm, but we got it.
A little bit of strong arming, yeah.
No. And really what it is, it's really neat to continue to get to know people, and it's good to have people like you in your back pocket. And this is one of those things where I urge everyone to listen, because you're going to need this guy in your back pocket at one point in your career, I guarantee it. And so we've got Keaton Turnipseed from BPE Law. He's a business and real estate attorney. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. So talk to me. Who is Keaton Turnipseed?
Yeah, so like you said, I am a business and real estate attorney here in Sacramento. I have also passed the Washington bar exam. But I mean, frankly, I grew up here in Sacramento. My parents still live probably 5 minutes from the office. My dad will roll in every so often, drop off whatever produce he has from his garden. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, I grew up here. I did go away to...
Is that where turnip seed comes from?
No, supposedly it's French German, but that's what I've been told for my whole life. But I have no real understanding of where that comes from.
But your dad has gardens.
He has a garden, and he gardens.
What nationality is he?
He came over from North Carolina for his medical school way back in the day.
The reason I ask is that my wife is Russian culture. In Russian culture, everyone has gardens. And so every time we go to moms and dads, they send us home with tons of produce.
Yeah. He gardening is always something he's liked, but he's picked it up a little bit more in retirement. It's sort of one of his retirement hobbies, that and golf.
Yeah, that and golf.
Yeah.
Oh, so keep going.
Yeah. So I went to Willamette University up in Salem, Oregon, played on their men's soccer team, got my degree in economics. Law school was always my plan. In high school, I did mock trial, really enjoyed it, and thought that was something that I wanted to pursue, meaning the legal field. Mm-hmm. I did understand that I was 18 and really didn't know anything about anything. So I did want to get a little more experienced. Worked 2 summers in the district attorney's office, worked in the domestic violence unit.
How was that?
This way. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I enjoyed it in that I learned a tremendous amount. Mm-hmm. And it sort of solidified for me that the law was something that I was interested in and wanted to pursue. It also solidified for me that I did not want to do criminal work. Like I said, I worked in the domestic violence unit. It was heavy.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. And it just wasn't something that I wanted to see every day. Mm-hmm. So I loved my experience there because I got really good experience and understood that this is something that I wanted to continue.
So what got you into real estate and business litigation?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, my folks live probably half a mile walking distance away from the office. Mm-hmm. And when I was a first-year student at McGeorge, I, was looking through they do on-campus interviews. Mm-hmm. And I was looking through and I said, well, I don't know if sort of business and real estate work is what I want to do, but I do want to walk to work. And I got in the door as a second-year student, did not get hired first year, mm-hmm. But really enjoyed the work. It was a really nice medium, sort of not as heavy as working at the DAs, but there was still, for my business clients, right, there's, pushing this transaction through, like there's money on the line in the real estate, litigation context. There's money on the line for this home that these
families
people,
and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself, were you always a good student? Were you always a bookworm, that kind of stuff? Because you got to do a lot of reading and writing.
Yeah. I would say that I was a good to very good student in law school. In undergrad, I was playing on the men's soccer team, and
How were you in high school?
I was a good student in high school.
Were you a good kid, or were you an asshole?
No, I stayed out of trouble. I
was a guitar-playing skateboarder that threw kids' backpacks on the roof because I was picked on so much in the early, So I went from bully to bully.
No, I certainly wasn't anything like that. I enjoyed my undergrad experience. Had a I think the nice way to put it is well-rounded, right? I got the academics done, had a good time playing soccer, but then had a pretty good social life as well.
So, did you consider soccer as a career path, or was it just something that you were doing for fun?
I mean, it would have been a great career path had I not been sitting on the bench on a Division III team.
Were in no disrespect.
No.
Were you not what they were looking for? I mean, in my music career, it's just an example. My music career. I was one of those child prodigy. I was able to pick up some of the most technical guitar playing in the world, and play it by ear. And when it comes time to go on tour and do all that, I was an exceptional guitar player, but I didn't have money. I didn't have resources. I didn't have. It's not what you know; it's who you know. I didn't have the necessaries. And then, of course, the moment I start getting a little bit successful, then my ego gets involved. And we talked a little bit about that. And there went that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I love soccer. I still play Sunday leagues now, but at the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough to take it any further. Like I said,
the careers are so short, unless you're like the Ronaldos,
Exactly. Unless you are very, very good. And again, I was sitting on the bench on a Division III team. And again, I say that playing soccer at Willamette was one of the, I would say, best decisions I ever made. One, I'm still in contact with a vast majority of my teammates. I was on the phone with one of them a couple of days ago. Like, we are still friends.
That's great.
5, 10, whatever years later.
Cool.
And again, I think sports teaches you, how to work hard, how to play in a team environment, how to understand your slot on the team. Because maybe your slot on the team is to stand on the bench and talk trash to the other side, right? And
I met this guy. So he owns I've told this. I've written a lot of books, and I've told this story in numerous books. And so his I'm trying to remember what the heck his name was, but he owns all of the Arcos in town.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess I'll have to go back and read the book because his name's in the book. Anyway, so he owns all the Arcos, and we were talking. I was like, your staff in there is just amazing. They're just incredible. And he's like, I've been wanting to promote her to manager for years, and she just won't accept it. And I was like, why is it? He goes, in society, you have to have 3 things. You have to have the king, the royal, and the servant. And so the servant is the one who is doing the work, the servant. The royal is the one that's overseeing, and the king is the one that oversees those people.
Sure.
And so in the sports, what you're saying is you have to have that person sitting on the bench.
Sure. And
they're part of the team. You can't have all 5s. You have to have the balance of everything else around it.
Exactly. And I think sports maybe is an easy example, but I see it in lawyers as well. You need to understand and come to peace with your slot on the team, right? As a junior associate, you are going to be doing the not fun tasks because you are the low man, right? In the same way that, maybe as a freshman, you are not going to play and you're not going to see that time or
earn it.
Yeah. And exactly. You need to earn.
And they're going to see that earning in practice.
Yeah.
And if you're ready in practice, then you know what they're going to. We saw that in the World Series.
Yeah.
Are you a baseball fan?
I am not a baseball fan.
I'm a huge baseball fan. And so you had this player that they paid I think they paid $4,000 for this player. He was like a nobody.
Yeah.
And he ended up saving the series, and he was the closer, and he had been on the bench. He had only played 2 games all season.
Yeah.
And they brought him out because it was in overtime, and there was nobody else you could bring, and they had to bring this one guy, and he ended up becoming the star.
Yeah.
And I want to say they ended up starting him in 2 games after they ended up. It was insane. It was just okay, now it's your chance to really show what you can do. Holy crap, you're good.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to have those moments.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me More now of what you do.
Yeah. So on a practice level, I would sort of break out my practice into two different buckets. One is the real estate side, and one is the more corporate business side. Within each of those, I guess I'll start with the more real estate. Within that real estate bucket, I think there's sort of two subcategories: litigation and transactions. Litigation, we're talking about disputes over non-disclosure, right? We're talking about two people own a property together and are in a dispute. On the transaction side, we're talking about buying and selling, large plots of land, developing large plots of land, or just developing land in general. That's sort of how the real estate side shakes out. And sort of moving over to the, more the more, business, corporate work. Again, there is that litigation side. We're talking business disputes between partners. We're talking disputes between businesses. On the transaction side, we're talking about buying, selling businesses, bringing in new partners, all of that. I would probably say there's a third sort of sub bucket within that corporate practice, which is sort of more general counsel work. Businesses will, have us on retainer as opposed to sort of a one-off. All right, I'm going to sell my contractor company, right? They'll sort of keep us on retainer so that they, can pick up the phone and chat with somebody who they've built that relationship
Explain
with.
to me the retainer.
Sure.
And this is for the business side?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, obviously there's I don't want to say a tremendous amount, but there's a significant amount of overlap between both the real estate and the business side.
But as an example, I've got a couple of different legal protections in place. It's never one of those things where you don't want to have too much. You want to make sure that you've got a great team behind you in case shit really hits the fan.
Yeah.
And so how would a retainer work with you if I were to bring you on as, I could call you and say, hey, Keaton, I need you to take care of this.
Yeah. So again, we have a couple of there's sort of different tiers based on what, what you're looking for. There's a tier where you have, all of this time and all of this, access already built out to us. And then you have something that's, in between, and then something where you don't have.
Do you have a monthly payment type program?
Yeah.
And what does something like that run?
I think the low end is probably like $500, and then you get up to that like $2,500 is sort of our top. But again, if you have, like, let's say, I'm thinking of a contractor that I represent. He has that, sort of baseline $500. If he, for example, somebody's unhappy with his work, he catches a case, right? We are going to bill that hourly and sort of litigate that out for him, right? In the same way.
Because essentially he's already paying for it. He's just paying for it up front.
And then in that same contractor can also pick up the phone and say, hey, I need a lien, right? I need a mechanic's lien, and we can crank that out on either within that subscription or work something else
Very
out.
Interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
And all of that actually can get tailored to what that business needs.
Oh,
right?
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And the pricing structure will probably reflect what they're
and again, all of that is we can tailor whatever you need to.
Exactly. Where does your passion come in? Why do you love this so much? I mean, you got soccer and you've got other passions, but where does this come in?
Yeah, so I think there's sort of three areas that make me passionate about what I do. One, and this sounds a little cliche, I will admit that, I do like to help people, right? Whether it's a litigation or...
I don't think that's cliche at all. I think that when we go to bed at night and we're brushing our teeth and we're looking in the mirror, we don't want to look at a douchebag.
Precisely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, absolutely.
And like for me, like, you have a client and they've got their last $200-$300 and they're like, I want to market my business, I need to save my business. That's not going to save your business. I would feel like a bigger toolbox taking your $200 or $300 knowing that you aren't going to get anything out of it.
Exactly.
I would rather sit down with you for free and say, okay, what's going on with your business?
Yeah.
How can we fix this so I can like charge you and not feel like a complete toolbox?
Exactly. And we were sort of talking about this before, but whether it's a litigation or you're selling your business that you've built from the ground up, those are some of the most stressful points in your life, or at the very least, one of the, if not the most, the biggest, most impactful decision that you're going to make. So I like to help people through that process. Again, whatever it is, whether it's, hey, I understand that this is really difficult, but this is taking the settlement is the right move. Or it's, helping them get divorced from their emotions, selling this company or this land or whatever that they are, tremendously emotionally attached to, and helping them through that process. I know you're going to talk to Melanie too, and I think she'll say something very similar, but, we sort of pride ourselves on being pragmatic, right? Looking at, divorcing ourselves from that emotion and looking at something in the most pragmatic way.
What I see with you guys is going to the events and meeting you. There's a vetting process that we have. It's, we meet you at the event, we invite you. If I like you, I'll invite you. If I don't like you, I'm not going to invite you. And then from there, you have to respond to the text, and then you have to go to the website and figure out what date, and then you have to get back to me, and then you have to come all the way up here to record. And essentially what ends up happening is just like, is there follow through? Does this person have follow through?
Yeah.
And all of that is on purpose, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no reason why I couldn't just grab the mic and drive to that person's house and, go and record the show.
Right.
The point is that I want them to get off their ass and come up here and actually find out if they're going to deliver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what I find with you guys is that I see punctuality. I see, I see you at the events. You're building relationships. You're approachable. I think that's very important in your space, is being approachable. A lot of people in your space, I'm not going to be disrespectful to your field, but a lot of people in your space are not approachable.
Sure. Yeah.
And so maybe they're stressed out and whatever it is, I don't know. But you guys are approachable, and you guys are a great team. Really, I don't know where where you're at with your careers, but I think you guys are a great team.
No, I really appreciate that.
What are you looking for in terms of clients?
Actually, it's sort of playing off what you just said, relationships, right? I like to work for people that I have or work with people, I should say, that I have a relationship with, right? Again, you are potentially going, when you're talking to me, you're going through something stressful, you're going through something, major in your life. And I want to go through that with you and provide you the best services that I can. It's hard to do that with somebody that I don't, I don't want to say don't get along with.
Don't mesh with.
Yeah, because
there has to be a proper energy.
Exactly. And even if we don't see eye to eye.
It's
right?
okay.
Yeah.
But the energy has to be right. And that's why we do it in person. People say, oh, well, I want to do it Zoom. Where are you located? El Dorado Hills. No. You have to come down here.
Yeah.
I want to be able to feel that energy. If the guy's in Tallahassee, that's a whole different story.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
But no, I mean, you've got to be able to feel that energy. Can I refer business to you? Can I trust you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to know that until I feel that energy and realize you're a snake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I have been in situations where I'm fighting the client and fighting the opposing party.
I know.
And it's a really difficult,
exactly
you can't provide the level of, I can't provide the level of service that I want to that client if I'm fighting both of those people.
I've had to fire more clients than I've been fired over
and
the
actually,
years.
like I was telling you, I had a client ask me, who I'm looking at you, Keaton, and another attorney. How do I pick? Who do I go with? And I told him, I said, look, you should go with whoever you feel the most comfortable with. You're about to go through something incredibly stressful. That particular client had a litigation pending. And, if that's not me, that's fine. That does not hurt my feelings. Yeah. That does not bother me in the slightest because, again, I want to provide you the best practical advice I can. And that maybe go with that other guy or that other gal if you are going to just mesh with them.
What do you
better.
like about him? What don't you like about him?
Yeah.
What do you like about me? What don't you like
exactly.
about me?
And
it's
again,
very simple.
Again, I don't want to have to fight you and fight the other side. Because and not even fight the other side, right? But if I spend all of my time corralling client expectations, right? And I will be very blunt with my clients. I am
but
not.
You have to be, though.
Exactly.
You have to be.
And I tell people straight up in consultations, like, I am not the person to sugarcoat anything, and I am not starting with you.
Yeah.
If you have a bad case, if you are being unreasonable in a deal, if I think that you are stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, right? If we are hashing out, 3 lines in this contract that really are
we
not.
see this stuff in real estate all the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy. It's like, this is what's going to hold up the deal. The freaking patio chairs are holding up the deal. I'll buy new patio chairs, but I want my patio chairs. I'll buy the patio chairs. It's not that big of it. I've literally seen this stuff. It's crazy.
And people's emotions and egos.
I saw a deal go sideways over a dishwasher once. I mean, it's nuts, dude. I've seen.
It is. And again, sort of taking that pragmatic approach, it's one thing to be, fighting over 3 lines in this, 10-page contract, but, it's also fine. And I will give you the advice that you need to walk away from this deal or walk away from this settlement offer if it's not right.
What is, I want to start to wrap up, but what is, when some of these people are being like this, what is it for them? Is it the emotional connection?
Most of the time, I do think it's emotion, right? Take the example of that business owner who is selling his company, right? He or she has built that company from, mom and pop. It's just me and my kid or whatever. And now
But that's their life's work.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's very hard for them to walk away from that. That's a lot of their identity. And I get it. I get it. But sort of helping them understand that this is an emotional process. That's okay. On the litigation side, I have clients who they just feel wronged. And again, that's a legitimate feeling.
Yeah.
But I tell them there's oftentimes a difference.
I know exactly what it is, and I deal with it with clients too. And I haven't had to deal with it where I've lost my company, but I've had to deal with it. Actually, I can't say that I did lose one of my businesses. Ferrari came after me 3 different times.
And it's not even about sort of...
Ferrari goes after everybody, but if they want what you've got, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
And that's...
And again, it's not even about losing your business, right? You get to an age where, or get to a point in your life where either you don't have to work or you need to transition out. And it's very hard for people to do that, even if their objective minds, their business minds are saying, I need to get out or I should get out.
That's very, very interesting. And I would love to, I could sit here for hours and talk to you about this. This is really very, very fascinating to me. It's very fascinating. And I'm sure you could, honestly, the stories that you could tell me right now would probably teach me so much. It's very, very fascinating. Keaton Turnipseed, 916-966-2260, BPELaw.com. What, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me. This is, like I told you before, the first podcast, and I really appreciate it being with you.
Okay, so I have on the website, it says T. Keaton Turnipseed.
Yeah.
What's the T?
My first name is Thomas, but nobody has ever called me Thomas in my life.
How come every single lawyer has their?
We have to be real pretentious. It comes with the bar, like the Esquire too. It's real pretentious. You gotta, we gotta make sure.
What's actually funny is John Robert Quinn is when everyone knows me. That's not my name. My name is Robert Jones, right? So I guess if I ever got into law, it would be R. Lewis Jones.
Yeah. See, it already sounds more pretentious.
It does. And I'm a third, so I would have to
even better. Yeah.
That's so cool. 916-966-2260. BPELaw.com. Hey, thank you so much for being here, dude. Super cool. And I want to thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.